Woo! Good morning. Welcome to the Off Base Podcast, the podcast carefully crafted to remind you to suck a fat one if you think you're the only one, because you're not. I certainly am not. I am your host. I'm the Rocky Mountain no-name Jackass. It's 53 degrees in the city of Aurora at 7:49 in the a.m. on December 14th, 2021. Hey now. Chaw time. Ceremonial spit. Let's do it. All right. Off we go, people. Into the wild blue yonder. Very, very mild morning here in Colorado in the middle of December. We do have the shortest day of the year approaching us on 12/21/21. Bunch of ones, bunch of twos. If there were only ones and zeros, it'd be even more perfect for the trailer that I saw yesterday for the movie The Matrix Resurrections. Now, it has always been my contention that they should have never made Matrix 2 and Matrix 3. Why? Because the story was wrapped up at the end of the first one, man. We didn't need to know about Zion. We didn't need to know about any of that stuff. I mean, let's say this. We didn't need to see it firsthand. It just, those 2 and 3, they just felt like, oh, man. Felt like they wanted to build a franchise, and the Wachowski brothers, who I highly admire for the work that they did on putting the first Matrix together. The Wachowski brothers felt like they were trying to turn themselves into modern day philosophers, and there was so much heavy language in 2 and 3 that you really had to watch it a couple times before you figured out what the fuck was going on. Not to mention the fact that the very end of the series, Matrix 3, was a pretty huge disappointment. Granted, it was realistic, but what a disappointment. They weren't free of the machines, but the machines agreed to let them live. Fucking weird. I always thought that the whole point of imprisonment or bondage type movies, I'm not talking about S&M. Come on, people. Get your minds out of the gutter this morning. I thought the whole point of bondage / imprisonment type movies was to be free of your captors. I didn't get it. Maybe I'm old. Maybe I'm too dumb. But they should have never made Matrix 2 and Matrix 3. Well, now I see the trailer for The Matrix 4. Now, as fun as it is to see Keanu in roles like that, from what I gathered from the trailer, is it's not really going to be about Keanu. It's not going to be about Neo. And listen, everybody's going to have their opinions on this. I get it. But, and what I'm about to say could be considered controversial. But I absolutely hated what has happened with Disney over the years. As Disney has really shifted hard into making the heroes, the protagonists of their heroic adventures, women. Don't misunderstand me. I am not saying that women cannot be heroes. But when it comes to combat, to be as blunt as I can, just because of how we're made up physiologically, women would get destroyed. I'm not saying that women are less than men, or I should say not equal to men. We are equal 2 plus 2 equals 4, but 3 plus 1 also equals 4. That's probably the best way I can say it. We are equal, but we're not the same. And one of the things that really frustrated the shit out of me was when, you know, you'd have that Disney female protagonist coming through, and she's got like 250, 270 pound muscular built guys that she's taking down with ease. I'm sorry, but in the real world, if those 250, 270 pound guys got their hands on me, they would twist me into a pretzel. Even if I hit them, it would have no effect on them. And I'm a pretty, decently, averagely strong guy. And even compared to a, quote unquote superwoman, but in those particular roles, the superwoman is what, 5'4", 110 pounds, if that, in great shape. But there's no way that she possesses that kind of power to knock out a 6'5", 270 pound guy. I'm sorry. All he's got to do is fall on her, or just grab her in some way, shape, or form, and it's over. It's over. Especially the guys who are trained in combat. I mean, it's like, give me a break. All right. So with that as a forward, again, I'll just reiterate: we are equal, no doubt, but we are not the same. So, with all that being said, hey, well, you know what? I'll extend the olive branch even further. My wife has had an extraordinary career thus far with the military, and in terms of our family dynamic, she makes more money than I do. Actually, a lot more money than I do. And on one level, I have been jealous of her, and I've told her this before. But on another level, I'm like, holy shit, nice job. I'm very proud of her in terms of what she's achieved. But that doesn't mean that, it hurts my ego just a little bit. But the pride definitely outweighs that because of what she's achieved. And she's done that because of how our society has evolved in recognizing women as equals in the workplace, particularly in the military. I mean, it used to be a boys' club back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. I mean, way prior than that, obviously. Women weren't allowed in the army in World War II, right? But now here she is, carved out an extraordinary career because the military has now allowed women to serve. And it's one of the great, how shall I say this? I'm speaking for her, but it's one of the great accomplishments and probably things that she's proud of in her life. And to watch her evolve in that culture. And after 2 deployments, one to Iraq and one to Afghanistan, fucking A, man. She came home from work yesterday. She was like 5 feet from the refrigerator. She came home from work exhausted, right? 5 feet from the fridge. She said, "Mark, can you get me a glass of water?" And it's like, no problem, man. Absolutely. You want a glass of water? I'll get you a glass of water. You don't even need to get up. You're 5 feet away. It doesn't matter. I'll help you out. So it's just little things like that where I have no problem doing nice things for her. So, again, all that being said, the new Matrix movie, it looks like... Oh, and by the way, said it was directed by Lana Wachowski. I don't know if she has any relation to the Wachowski brothers who put together the first 3 Matrixes, but what it indicated to me is that they specifically wanted to highlight the fact that there was a female director, which is fine. It's nice. But usually you do that when your director's a little bit more established, so that you have the name recognition, like Steven Spielberg, or I can't think of it. Oh, my favorite, which is Christopher Nolan, who did the Batman trilogy. If I see a movie coming out by Christopher Nolan, I'm going to see it. because it's Christopher Nolan. If I see a Spielberg movie coming out, I'll probably see it because it's Steven Spielberg. If it's Lana Wachowski, people will be like, who's that? You might only know the name if you're fans of The Matrix and you know that the Wachowski brothers directed the first 3. So I don't know if she has any relation to them. It does feel like they're pushing, or at least using her name just to say, hey, a woman is directing this. Which I guess is fine. I mean, musical artists, they'll announce themselves before they sing. I used to love when Jason Derulo would do that. Every single song he'd sing, song would start, and then you'd hear, Jason Derulo. It's like, okay, I like this because, you know why? Because the DJs oftentimes would just start playing songs. They wouldn't tell you who it was. So you'd be like, who the fuck is this? And then Jason Derulo come out, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is Jason Derulo. So I kind of like that on one level, because you at least get to know who the person is. But on the silver screen, I mean, it's nice to know who the director is, but I think that they were starting to push this down our throats. And with that being said, as I watched the trailer unfold more and more, they started with showing images of Neo and Agent Smith and how things were changing and blah, 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 giving us an idea of the story. But then the trailer quickly turned into what looked like a focus on Trinity. I have no problem with Trinity at all. But when you start to establish a franchise, I think it's probably key to stick with the person who brought you to the dance, because that's who the audience has been following for 3 movies. And that, of course, would be Neo. To try to shove Trinity into that mold, again, feels like we're just forcing our way towards a female narrative for the sake of making a woman a hero again. And you don't need to do that. I mean, there's so many good movies out there that didn't force that to happen. Legally Blonde, fantastic example. Love that movie. The script is phenomenal. It hits all the check marks. And Reese Witherspoon crushed it. She's in a field where it makes sense in the minds of the viewers to say, oh yeah, she can kick the shit out of this job. Sandra Bullock, same thing, Miss Congeniality. Most of those 2 gals' movies are like that, where they're not being forced into, where it doesn't feel like the writers and the directors and the producers are forcing the woman into a traditionally male role to say, oh, women can do this too. Yeah, maybe they can, but the large percentage of the time, those are male-dominated fields. And for us to sit back and believe that a woman can dominate, I'm not saying participate, I'm saying dominate in a field like that, it's just hard for a male audience member like myself to believe. Now, I never saw G.I. Jane. There's a good example. Demi Moore was breaking grounds back then. I thought it was cool when the movie came out because it was at that time where women wanted to be involved in, what do I want to say, more physically elite branches of the military. And I forgot if it was Navy SEALs or if it was, I think it was Navy SEALs that she was trying out for. But, I mean, that just gives you an idea just how physically demanding jobs like that can be. And there's nothing wrong with guys taking the majority of those types of jobs. And if all of a sudden you relax the standards to physical standards to just allow women to come in, you run the risk of what do I want to say? The fabric of that particular job potentially breaking down. I'm not saying it will. I'm just saying you run the risk. All right, so needless to say, just to bring this all full circle, I got no problem with female protagonists. I have a problem when it doesn't make sense, or when it feels like the movie makers are trying to put a square peg into a round hole. Now, granted, okay, in The Matrix, people have these extraordinary abilities, right? So it's possible that Trinity, you know, is going to find something about herself in the Matrix that she didn't know before. But I mean, you already had Neo, you already had Superman, right? And then in the trailer, they showed him like shooting fireballs, like from Street Fighter, like Ryu and Ken. It's like, all right, so now he can fly. He's got ridiculous speed, ridiculous strength. Now he's shooting fireballs. This is pretty fucking awesome. How are you going to make Trinity the main character of this movie? I don't know, man. I am quite skeptical. Quite skeptical. All right, turn it into base. There's my little Matrix rant for the day. So as we're approaching base here, I guess I'll make a quick connection. And I have a feeling that a lot of people may agree with me on this, because I read a lot about this online and watched a lot of videos when this was happening. But I'll take it back to Disney and Star Wars episodes 7, 8, and 9. People had such a problem with Rey as the main character of the movie, or as the protagonist. Hang on one sec. Morning.
Will you pull for me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, perfect. Good to go. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And it's perfectly fine to make a female your main, like, Jedi/Force protagonist. Got no problem with that. The problem that people had with Rey is that she faced absolutely no adversity in developing her powers. And I forget, you know, who said it or who wrote it, but their argument was, and it was the person who wrote this or said it, I can't remember, was a woman. They said, look, what Disney is presenting to us with Rey as the main character is an impossible woman. She just all of a sudden has these abilities. She doesn't have to struggle to find them. It's just here they are. You got them. Do with it what you will. And this woman said in her review, she was like, what an unrealistic expectation to put on women. Because particularly in fields where the jobs are male dominated, we have to struggle. And by we, I mean, I'm talking about women. I'm quoting this woman. She said, we have to struggle. Don't be throwing us an image of a woman who can just do it all without having to work for it. People, I'm telling you, man, when episode 7, 8, and 9 came out, people were pissed off that's how the first female Jedi protagonist was being presented. Right before that, they had what was it? Rogue One. Fucking perfect. That was a phenomenal story with a female protagonist. Brilliant. Very well written. And she struggled the whole fucking movie, man. Obviously, internally and externally, to get those plans to blow up the Death Star. Struggled with her crew, who she didn't know if she could trust. I mean, just really, really smart script. But 7, 8, and 9, forget it. Will we see The Matrix Resurrections? I don't know if I'll see it in the theater. But at some point, I probably will end up watching it. Only because Keanu's cool and, you know, we like all the fight scenes and whatnot. And I think I want to see him throw fireballs. Look, see how I'm just describing it right now? I'm more interested in seeing what they do with him than whether or not they try to shove Trinity into the protagonist's role. Okay. So that's the big, long rant on The Matrix this morning. I'm wishing everybody a good day, especially the ladies out there. Huh? And I got a nice view of the Rockies. It's going to be a great week as we approach Christmas. We're 11 days away, everybody. Have a great day. I'll smell you tomorrow.